For those of you joining us today, the Danville Town Council meeting will begin shortly.
Okay, we'll get started. Good evening and welcome to the Danville Town Council meeting of Tuesday, February 15th, 2022. And to start off, we will have Marie Sensiri, our city clerk, call the roll. Marie?
Yes. Councilmember Fong?
Here.
Councilmember Morgan?
Here.
Councilmember Stepper?
Here.
Vice Mayor Storer?
Here.
And Mayor Arnerich.
Here.
All council members are present.
Great, thank you. And tonight we are also joined by our town manager, Joe Calabriga, our city attorney, Rob Ewing, and of course, Marie Sensiri, our city clerk. And from time to time, we'll be joined by some of our staff and other visitors who will be speaking on specific items here tonight. And Marie, you have an announcement about our meetings.
Yes, this meeting is being held by teleconference only on Zoom, and a recording of the meeting will be made available on the town website, as well as any public comments that have been received. I will note that there have been no written comments received for any of the items on the meeting this evening. All of Danville's meeting agendas have information on how to participate in public meetings. To provide live comments during this meeting, use the raise hand feature in Zoom. Your name will be announced and your audio only will be enabled. And you're asked to state your name for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie. And this will take us to the next item on the agenda, which is item number 2. And this is going to be the Pledge of Allegiance. And we're very honored tonight to have our very own Fire Chief Paige Meyer, who is also going to be speaking tonight. And if he will unmute and turn his video on, he is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Marie, you can take it away.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
2. Thank you, Chief. Very nice of you to do that for us and get us off to a great start. Item number 3 is for changes to the order of the agenda. And Joe, do we have any changes tonight?
Mr. Mayor, we have no changes to the order of the agenda this evening.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And this will take us to item number 4, which is for the good of the town. And the good of the town is an opportunity for anyone in our audience to participate by speaking on anything that's not on our agenda. And because it's not on our agenda, we cannot comment it. However, we can refer it to staff or consider future action or discussion of that. Marie, first, do we have any written comments under for the good of the town?
No written comments were received for the good of the town.
Okay, and then we'll go to our public. And if you would like to please, as Marie had mentioned earlier, use your virtual raise hand function in the Zoom function. And I see that we have our former council member, Lisa Blackwell here. Lisa, welcome. Lisa, go ahead if you unmute yourself.
I'm such a rookie at this. Sorry about that. Good evening, everyone. Mayor Arnerich, Vice Mayor Storer. I want to wish you a very happy birthday, by the way, and everyone else on the town council. I'm here on behalf of the San Ramon Valley Education Foundation, and I'm on the board of that. And we want to sincerely thank you for your $100,000 contribution from the American Rescue Plan Act. The Ed Foundation, as you all know, works with our school district to help raise funds for our children in this district. And between the schools and the Ed Foundation, we've raised millions of dollars for our students here. But this year has been tough. And the last 2 years, the Ed Foundation has had to do their run for education virtually, which meant lots less of participants, fewer sponsors. So your contribution could not have come at a better time for us. So we got together with some subcommittee groups and talked about what we should do with these funds to make it meaningful. And the main thing we want to do is to increase awareness of the Ed Foundation so that we can increase participation and ultimately donations, which would ultimately go back to our children. So we are working on a 5-step varieties of things we're going to do with that funds. Mostly it'll be for marketing. Just like we did with the town, we're looking for a consultant that will change our image and change the website and get more information about the Ed Foundation out to the community. And there's a variety of other things, but just being more efficient and learning better. We hope we are going to be able to, do better for our community, raise more money, and help the students of San Ramon Valley. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Great, Lisa, thank you so much. Thank you for visiting us again. It's always great to hear your voice.
Well, and I actually have someone else here. We have one computer between us who would also like to thank you.
I bet his name's Brad.
And his name is Brad, and it's his last day as president of the museum. So
That's right, there's a meeting tonight.
Right now. Okay, so he's coming on.
Okay, your next 3 minutes starts. So
Okay.
Blackwell, welcome.
I will take less than 3 minutes for you. So anyway, I'm more commonly known as Lisa's husband, but I am Brad Blackwell, and currently for the next 2 hours, president of the Museum of the San Ramon Valley. I too wanted to thank you sincerely for the $100,000 that you provided to the museum. It's going to give us a chance to do a number of things. There were obviously shortfalls through COVID. It helped fill that gap. It's going to allow the museum to experiment with expanded hours. I know everybody's been interested in expanded hours so that kids can come after school and so that there's more awareness of when the museum is open. It's going to allow us to protect some of the digital assets that we have, or digitize some of the assets we have that are not digital today. It's also going to give us an opportunity to bring technology into the 21st century, as well as do something like a guide by cell of historic areas of Danville. So I think you're going to see a lot of really good use from the money. But just wanted to say the generosity you all showed and the sensitivity with the funds that were provided by the federal government are deeply appreciated by all of us at the Museum of San Ramon Valley. And we appreciate the work all of you are doing on the council. And happy birthday, Robert. Take care.
Great, Brad, thank you. And I know on behalf of all the council, we appreciate what the museum does. And most people don't realize it, but you are our visitor center for those visiting Danville. So thank you so much. And again, thanks for the work and congratulations on your service as the chair of that. And maybe Renee and I, since we're on the board, might be able to make the meeting tonight if ours doesn't go too late. Congratulations.
Look forward to seeing you. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. All right. Is there anybody else who would like to address the council under for good of the town? If so, please raise your virtual Zoom hand and we will call on you. Marie, do you see any others? I do not.
There are no other speakers for the good of the town.
Okay. All right. Then we'll close that part of our meeting and we will go to item number 5 under presentations and proclamations. And I said earlier, our fire chief, Chief Paige Meyer, the San Ramon Valley Fire Protection District, is here tonight, along with some of his team members, to give us an update on some really exciting things that are going on. So Chief Paige, do you want to also introduce your team before you get started here?
Absolutely. If they can show their faces, they're all shy. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Come on,
Jim, Denise.
Yeah. So as you all know, most of these folks, but I would start with who's assigned to Danville. That's Jim Sellover, our deputy chief. And he has been, I think, a mainstay over the last couple of years. You also know Frank Drayton. He's another deputy chief with the department. And then Denise Pangelinan, who's our communications director. So those are the folks. They may or may not say a few words or correct me as we move forward. So I'm happy to introduce them as my team.
Welcome to all of you.
Yeah. And so one of the things I want to start with, and I'm going to take a point of personal privilege here, if that's okay. I'd just like to compliment the town of Danville. You have done an amazing job as you move forward. I am a resident, so I get all the information. My family absolutely loves living here. So, and they're excited about the new initiatives with downtown. So all I have, I always get beat up by my family saying, okay, what's next? What's going on? We got this. So we're following that. So good job by all. We're really proud to be your fire district, and I'm proud to live in the town with such a great staff. So, and then I'd also have to say, because this goes back 9 years when I used to show up to the morning coffees about, I don't know, at 6:30 in the morning. It felt like 5 in the morning with you, council member Store. Or town council member Store, and you really, did a great job of showing vision back then. So, on behalf of the whole council, so thank you. Enough of that. Why don't we get started with our presentation? One of the things we like to do is we like to make sure that all of our community members and elected officials know what's happening in your fire district. It is your fire district. As you know, we've done a lot of initiatives through COVID. I think you've heard about a lot of those, but we also didn't stand by and kind of take it easy. We continued to grind and work towards a lot of goals that I think are going to benefit the entire community. So I don't know if I think I'm supposed to share my screen. Is that right, Marie?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here and hopefully do a good job of this. I can't believe they trusted me with this, but here you go. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
That's impressive, Paige.
Well done. Well done.
I've been working on this for a while. All right, so let me get started. This is an update really on our activities and initiatives, and we're going to start with one that I think we're most proud of. 9 years ago, we were able to look at our ISO rating. We were a distant Class 2 department, and when I first came in, I know that this was a big issue, a big initiative that we all wanted to look at. How could we become one of the best departments, not only that we know from a save rate perspective and a fire service perspective, but how do we really meet a level that is recognized throughout the United States as being the highest rated department, or one of the highest rated departments in the United States. And that was to make Insurance Services Office Class 1 department, which we are proud to announce to you that we were able to achieve. So as of February, I think it was 1st, and my staff will correct me if I'm wrong, we are recognized at the highest level, a Class 1 department. This is an independent analysis, as you can see, of our delivery system. And that includes our communication system, the water delivery system, as well as our fire operations and our ability to prevent fires. So they look at all those areas independently, and then they rank us. And so when I first got here, I think we were a low 2, right around 82, 83%. And what has been nice is we've slowly just kind of chipped away at trying to get all the points we could. And we're now a 1, which is in the 90 percentile. But what that means to you is less than 1% of the fire departments throughout the United States hold the designation. Well, it's really about 400 departments throughout the United States, and we're proud to be one of them. And really, what does that mean? Well, we think it's a real measure of what we're doing. Again, it has to do with insurance, so they don't give these out easily. And so we're really proud of that. But I think for your citizens, and really for all citizens within the district, it's important that they know that it does 2 things, we believe. Number one, it will actually help on their fire insurance rates. So they may see a decrease in their fire insurance bills, their annual bills that they have living in the town of Danville or anywhere in the district. And then the other thing that is probably not as well known is also the fact that, and I'm sure you've heard this, people are having a hard time even getting insurance in California. So when you have a Class 1 department, if you're having difficulties, you're able to go and basically show that your district, your fire department, is a Class 1 department, which checks all the boxes for an insurance, for the Insurance Services Office. And I think it really puts you in a position to argue to keep insurance. And I don't know if anybody's felt that out there or seen friends or family have to be challenged with that. We've seen it rarely in our own district, so we're hoping that this helps. And I'll take any questions. This is informal, so jump in if you have any questions as I move forward. Another area that you probably don't know a lot about, and I just want to bring it up because it is something that I don't want to say we're proud about, but is something that we took on as we've dealt with these fires that have raged through Northern California. We have found that when we've dealt with many of these fires, they've been started either through lack of maintenance through PG&E, high wire lines and or work that's being done. So one of the things we did and our fire board did, and I think they did a great job, they came out with an ordinance that would allow for us to be notified appropriately and in short order so that we could not only deal with what that maintenance was, but understand where it's taking place in the district, be able to go out in a timely manner and see the lay of the land and what they're proposing to do, and be ready in case something happens, unfortunately, which can happen. So we put this ordinance out and essentially required them to let us know when and where they were doing work when there was a high fire risk area and or a high fire risk activity. It also allowed us to up staff during public safety power shutoffs, which we thought was a big deal because we provide ambulance service. And as you know, when the power goes off, people are affected in a variety of ways, whether it be through oxygen, lack of oxygen. So we would have to up staff for all those kind of critical areas, and we would be also reimbursed for that. And we didn't think that the taxpayer should have to pay for that. And then we could levy fines and deal with them appropriately and hopefully get compliance, if that makes sense. So we went through that legal dispute. We passed the ordinance. We were sued. We won in court. And then we sat down with PG&E, and I got to give PG&E credit here. We sat down and we said, what do we need to do so that we could work together? And they came to the table, and I think they did a good job of understanding our concerns. And we were able to ultimately get those worked out and have everything you see stay in place. I think the only thing we did that was different was instead of 48 hours notice, we have 24 hours notice whenever they're doing this dangerous work. So we thought that was a good thing. Hence, afterwards, what ends up happening is Assemblymember Rebecca Bauer-Cahan is following what's happening in our district, and she, as of yesterday, just introduced Assembly Bill 2070. And that mirrors really and takes our ordinance and provides this throughout the state, so all fire departments can be noticed by PG&E when this work is being done. So we're proud that maybe we made a little bit of a difference. We think throughout the state and specifically in Northern California. So another area that we worked on, we thought was important for you to know. Public safety building, and again, I can't see you guys, just so you know. So if you have something, just jump in. But we also have a public safety building that we're in the process of constructing. If you've been to the fire district, you know, I think very similar to what you have in the town. We have a building that was an insurance office. The layout doesn't really make sense. We have a small boardroom, our offices. We don't have any capacity. It's dated. So one of the things we did was we looked at a public safety building off site of where we are right now. We are slated to open that this fall and move to this new building. It's at 2401 Bollinger Canyon. And we're excited to move into that building. And then what that will do is will allow us to actually erect a training tower where I'm sitting right now in my offices. So instead of having to go to Contra Costa County Fire to train or to go to Alameda County Fire to train, we can keep our resources in district and be able to train in district. And that allows us to respond more efficiently in the middle of training if something goes, something goes sideways. So we're excited about that. And then with that, we have really, I think for me, which is really exciting. And I know that the town has an emergency operations center, but our emergency operations center is in our boardroom. And so as we looked at this project, we added essentially 8,800 square foot, 2-story building that is an essential services building. And I'm going to turn it over to Chief Drayton who's going to talk a little bit about this because you're going to get sick of listening to me, but he's going to tell you a little bit about the Emergency Operations Center and what it is. But I would just start with this. This is not a duplication of effort. I think it's important to note that when you have emergencies, sometimes they happen right in dead center where your EOC is. The partnership with the town of Danville and the district is always there to complement each other. So you can never be too prepared for a disaster. And I think that you got to keep that in mind as we present this. So I turn it over to you, Chief.
Welcome, Frank.
Thank you, Chief Meyer. As the chief said, when we started this project 3 years ago, he had the foresight to put a big task on me to get the EOC out of a fire station, out of an admin location, and develop a standalone emergency operations center, communication center that would withstand any type of future earthquake. It's an essential service building. It's 100% self-contained, its own power, its own water. The expectation with an essential service building is that building will stay standing when we have a 8+ earthquake, so we can continue to serve the citizens. From a construction aspect, it's a 2-story building. The EOC itself is over 4,000 square feet. It has 2,000 square feet of open floor space for the general functions of an EOC. It has 2 independent breakout rooms that can either be private or viewable. They're glass walls that you can either shade them out so you don't have folks looking in or out. There's also offices for our GIS analysts, IT tech, and IT supervisor will be housed in there. I know one of both the chief and I's experience in an EOC, a lot of times when we activate an EOC, a lot of the IT functions don't work. So he came up with the concept of having the IT folks in the EOC at all times, so those IT functions are always up and running. It also has a ham radio operating room to work with Cert and our folks, and also a breakout room to sustain longer EOC operations. The completion date is scheduled for September 7th for the EOC to be open and operational. Next slide.
And so on this one, I'm going to start and I'll have Denise jump in, but a communication center, we are a primary public safety answering point, or as maybe commonly known as a PSAP. Many areas of the district, our 911 calls come directly into our dispatch center. And so we're proud to be accredited. We're the 8th in the history of the world. I know that sounds a little bit like I'm making it up. It's true, which means the universe. I like to say universe. But in any event, we've got EMD, as you guys know, emergency medical dispatch. If you've ever called, we talk people through the incident and make sure they get all the direction that they need to. And it also has to do with emergency fire dispatch, same thought process. And one of the things we did with this, again, this is the 2nd floor of the EOC. So it's 4,400 square feet, 7 workstations. So that gives us a ton of capacity. If anybody ever in the district wanted to somehow come over and jump into our EOC, we always would welcome people. Do I need to wink at this point? I'm kidding. Anyway, but we do have capacity, and it's state of the art. We have technology systems right now that are amazing. One of the things I'm gonna brag for Denise. She's been running how often we answer the phone on the first ring, which is typically most dispatch centers don't hit 100% at all. We are essentially at 100% of the time answering the phone on the first ring, which is unprecedented. And so I'll turn it over to you, Denise, if you could talk about a couple of the maybe the text 911, some of the things I think that are important for the community to hear.
Welcome, Denise.
Thank you. So as Chief Drayton mentioned, we are an essential services building from the EOC all the way up to the comm center. We will have brand new workstations where we currently have 4 dispatchers on duty. We're looking for future capacity. So we're implementing 7 workstations, which we still have room for the 8th one down the road. And state-of-the-art systems and technology will be one of the first in the state of California to have a cloud-based 911 phone system. It was developed by the state 911 office. They're still in the final stages of implementing it. And so by the time that we are moved into the new building, we'll have that integrated. That will provide real-time call routing. So if you're on your cell phone, if you're in a moving vehicle, we'll be able to see you on a map in our center, our own map that we've built, streets that you're traveling down, whether you're making turns, what streets you're going on to, which is also going to be very helpful for the police side when they're working incidents. We have integrated text messaging. Right now, it's a separate system from our 911 system. So the dispatchers are working off two different systems. This will all be integrated into our 911 system. We also will have the ability to receive video images as well. And we'll have all new fiber lines with cable technology for phone and radio. We're implementing 3 new eBricks workstations as well. One of the highlights for the dispatchers is that they're going to finally have windows in their center. The dispatchers are not allowed to leave the communication center during their shift. So they're often locked in that room working major incidents, and they get quick breaks. So now they're happy to have a view, some nice windows on the second floor, and a little balcony to get some fresh air once in a while. So we're really proud of the center and looking forward to September 7th.
That's great. And Denise, can I ask a question? Could you just expand a little bit? Because I think we've heard from the chief before about this, but the new technology about how a person who's calling 911, how could they interface with you under this new system using text, video, images, things like that?
So you just put 911 in your text messages in the phone number. So where you would add a phone number to someone, you just type 911, and then you should be able to text directly to that communication center. For us as a primary PSAP, we'll get those text messages directly to us. And then for a secondary PSAP and agencies outside of the city of San Ramon, they're received in their communications center, and then if it's a San Ramon Valley fire call, they'll have to route it to us either via the telephone to call us to say that they're texting with someone, or there are some new capabilities now that they can forward the call. But a lot of times agencies like to make that phone call directly, right, and so they don't lose the person that they're talking to.
That's great. Well, you guys are first, and everybody else will start to follow. But that's fantastic news. So thank you.
Thank you.
And the only other thing I'd add is, I'd add 2 things. The first is, when you look at where our communication center has been, it's been at station 31, which is in a fire station, which is not always necessarily the best place for a communication center. So we think that that's a big upgrade. And the other thing is we've had to stand up Contra Costa County Fire, which really owns most of the rest of the obviously the county, because they dispatch for Moraga Arinda, they dispatch for Pinole, they have, they dispatch for several agencies. And one of the things that I've been proud of in my 9 years is that we've never had to ask them for help. And we're fortunate that we've been able to move them into our station if we had to, and or stand them up. So it is good to have more than one communication center. It's not all, I know people think regionalization sometimes is best, but also having a backup is you can never have too much duplication when you're dealing with communications. So it's exciting for us. This is one area, I think, and this is the last area I'm going to touch on. So thank you for your patience. But I think this was one that stands out to a lot of folks over the last several years at least. And we're seeing, as you all have seen, the type of challenges that we have in the mental health of our citizens and everybody in the United States. I think we're more aware of it. And as you know, we have started what is our pilot program, Mental Health First, which is a frontline integrated safety training. So for us, one of the things that we wanted to do was think outside of the box and not necessarily just follow what everybody else does. And so we looked at what is a groundbreaking approach and is not being done in any other fire department that we can find, where we will be taking the lead on these mental health crisis calls, depending on some areas. Just as a reminder, if it's a non-crime, non-violent call, instead of waiting for our partners at the county to respond with their folks, we'll get the call within the first couple minutes, and we'll show up, and we will take the lead on the mental health call and the emergency. And our partners and our great partners in the police department will stand by outside as we try to see what we can do to hopefully minimize the impacts to the person having the emergency, look for alternative ways of care, and making sure that we can try to diffuse the situation. I always say this: firefighters are well liked. I don't understand it sometimes. I work with a lot of them. I don't understand what the big deal is, but honestly, they see us and people tend to relax, and we need to take advantage of that. So that's the approach. It's not done anywhere else. I know a lot of folks have clinicians and they're putting them on one ambulance in a county, but our thought process is we're going to be going there within the first 7 minutes. High level training and awareness for all first responders, both dispatch, fire, and police. Currently, we've done 5 hours of on-demand pre-training. We've done surveys. We've done all kinds of things as we've set out this program that we're working on. And so far, we've got about 12 hours of live interactive focus training with our expert trainer. And I know Joe Calabrigo has sat in on the training. So he's had had the ability to watch some of this training and see how this has evolved. And I bring the word up evolve because one of the things that we looked at was great ideas are great ideas, but the reality of it is that sometimes great ideas also, you have to be open that we have to be sensitive to the dispatchers, the firefighters and medics and the police officers. And so we want to make sure that this is something that we look at as we move forward and allow it to evolve through their thoughts and as we move forward, because this doesn't exist, right? So far, we have approximately 150 total participants to date, and the feedback has been really, really good so far. One of the things that we found, and this is based on I think I would call it a pre-survey of mental health training. Now, whether this is accurate, I think it's upwards of, but when we put out all the surveys, we asked, how many of you have had any mental health crisis care training, emergency training? Upwards of 95% of the folks that responded said that they had little to none. So now we're in a position where what I thought based on this initiative was we really don't have training in this. And I've mentioned this several times. We don't train to this level, but it's something we deal with on a daily basis in the fire service. So just the fact that we're bringing people up to a level, whether it's 95% or 70%, or maybe people don't look at the training they have as being that effective. We feel like that's an important number to point out. And we really, back to what I was saying before, we looked at a co-design. We want to make sure that when we're in these meetings, and I don't know, Joe, if you have any comments on it, I'll let you comment if you'd like. But one of the things that was unique as you went through this process of having police officers, dispatchers, and firefighters, everybody has a different view. And frankly, many times they don't understand each other. When our firefighters get on scene and they're frustrated with a police officer, they don't understand that police officer's challenges, right? So they just get frustrated without understanding their role and responsibility and policies. And same for the police department, right? Sometimes they look at us and say, why aren't you just taking this person, right? So we have this kind of understanding that takes place. And as they have conversations, we really wanted this to be, we've got the thought process, but we do want to co-design with everybody because we think we can tweak it and make this pilot program even better. So the feedback from that perspective has been very positive. But one of the things I'd say is the frustration level is in the past, not with this program, but in the past is as they talk is there's no really direction. There's no policy that makes sense or cooperation. And there's a lack of really collaboration at the county level when they go to PES, or I should say psychiatric emergency services. Nobody's talking to each other, very siloed. So we think that this also is going to get rid of some of that frustration of folks not communicating, and we're excited to be a part of that. So that's currently the impacts and metrics. The next steps, and you'll see Danville PD there. We were really excited to have Danville PD on. As you all know, I've been excited to bring them on as a part of this plan. Unfortunately, right, I think Joe, a week before, we have Omicron come in, and we have to keep firefighters on the streets, and you have to keep police officers in the streets. And unfortunately, we had to make a decision to delay. So we did delay the January training, but we're going to be jumping right in over the next several weeks. So we will be completing that outstanding training. And one of the things that the town council and the community might want to be aware of is we also have a one unit that's going to be a single role paramedic unit. That means they're not firefighters. They are paramedics in the field. And one of the reasons this program started was because of the time at the hospital that our ambulances are spending. You've got an inordinate amount of time of people just standing by and going out of service for 2 or 3 hours. So we have to have some form of surge protection so we don't leave somebody without an ambulance. So one of the things we wanted to do is also leverage them to take them to an even higher level of training, which we would call specialist training for those times that we need to have an alternate destination, or it might be an extended period of time. So we're excited about that as well. We'll continue to move forward with the implementation. We think that that's going to give us really the best program we can have. And finally, this is not the most important part, but to me is a big part of it. We really want to develop and look at analytics, workflows. This isn't a throw your thumb up in the air and say, hey, it's working really well because we decided to take something on, but we had no metrics. So we are in the process also, as this rolls out, to actually have to be able to punch a few numbers and bring up how effective this program is, because we have to have a CQI approach, right? Continuous quality improvement. Where are we missing the mark anecdotally with the troops in the field? And then how does that look on the numbers when we start putting the outcomes and some of the key statistical data? How does that look at the end? So we're excited about all that, and we think it's going to just get better and better as we move forward. So that concludes that part of the presentation. And I said, Joe, if you had any comments, I'd like to turn it over to Joe and see if he has anything for me or did I do that right? Are you guys back?
You did, yes.
Oh, man, I'm applying for IT.
You're two for two. Yeah.
Anyway, Joe, do you have anything to add from your time?
Very briefly, thanks, Chief, for the opportunity. And, I'd say to council that the chief and I have been in fairly constant communication with respect to the first program, but also in terms of other things that are going on in the district. And, I thought it was fascinating sitting in on the training that I was able to observe, just watching the dialogue between police officers and firefighters, and beginning to appreciate some of the frustrations and issues that they have to deal with when they're responding to calls out in the field. And just sort of watching those two groups of professional folks sitting down together and really beginning, I think, to develop a better appreciation for what each of them has to deal with, and seeing them be able to talk about it at the same time in the same place. So, I was impressed with that. I was impressed with the trainer, and can't wait for our officers to have the opportunity to experience that training as well. So, thanks, Chief.
Great. And Paige, to you and Frank, Denise, everybody's been here tonight, and all the other people behind the scenes, thank you for what you're doing. The two big takeaways: not only you guys are always prepared, your fire prevention standards are much better than most other agencies. Some don't even have the resources to focus on that. And you guys are so proactive. We all appreciate it. We are all looking forward to this program, particularly on mental health. And if you recall, it was just before you got here, we had started a program of training people with mental health first aid, which was to get all of our folks in government, our teachers, people who make regular contact with the public, was what do you do in a mental health? Most people used to kind of walk across the street when they'd see a person in crisis because they didn't know how to do it. And mental health first aid was a 2-day class, and it's now 1 day. And it was to get you the skill set to be able to lean in, not to solve the problem, but know who to call, how to handle it, how to try to keep the situation calm. And I think that, as we go forward with this, that's something for all of us to go back as each of our agencies to think about getting all of our new staff back up to speed on that. So thank you. And I know we got a few questions, comments. We'll start with Renee Morgan, and then Karen, and then Robert and Dave.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I wanted to say that how proud I am to know that you, Chief Meyer, are at the helm of this entire protection district, as well as the people that serve with you. We couldn't be more proud to say that, the ratings that you received is beyond phenomenal, and you are the best to us in the universe. We don't rate you as number 8 or wherever that was you said you were. We see you the best in the universe. So first of all, I wanted to thank all of you for that. I reached out to a couple of the insurance agencies and asked them how that affects our residents in general. And so many of them are just ecstatic over the fact that we can do that, especially with California in the past years that we've had so much fire going on. And now you've given us that little break in our fire insurance, because I know that we have some hot spots in our area. So thank you to all of you for that. The other thing I wanted to mention was the PSPS. I know that last year when we did a Town Talks program, I happened to have PG&E and you on there, and it got a little contentious, but and rightfully so. I understand why, but it's nice to know that the ordinance number 35 is in place right now, and that you're working on some others, because that only helps us when we do have these power shutoffs and we're able to get more notification, and you're able to prepare better as well. So great to hear that, and thank you both. Or, everybody that's, but I think Frank was talking about it as well. The other thing is I wanted to ask you about your wink comment that you made. So question, the EOC, having our new building come to fruition is just, we're really ecstatic about that. But I know that we need to work in partnership with fire if an emergency so-called happens, an earthquake or fire or whatever it may be. How do you see that partnership working with you having the EOC and we having one as well?
I think I'm actually very happy with the fact that we have two. I mean, I will tell you, Ron Marley, who's our disaster preparedness manager, has worked very closely with Marcel. Very impressed with her. And they have had this great relationship. I always joke, these disaster folks are interesting people anyway. I say that complimentary, but they've been working really well together. And the reality of it is, and we often say this, a lot of times you don't think about the fact that when you have that emergency, sometimes your EOC isn't available. So having, some distance, you guys are a little bit closer to the freeway can get shut down. You have access to ours. We have access to yours. I know Joe and I have talked about that. And so typically we like to have, not everybody has the luxury of it, but we like to have a secondary, and you being our secondary and us being your secondary, or for that matter, quite frankly, we're going to be working closely together in a primary in one of the two spots. It really actually adds to the level of safety, because when it happens, and it's not an if, when we get what we consider the big one, having us at an essential services level, which is, I think, Frank, you said an 8.0 earthquake we can withstand. Yeah.
Actually, that's the code requirement.
Yeah. And
That was
so,
9.0, but
yeah,
you're essential
So-
service, so you can't be down as a result of an earthquake.
exactly. So I just think it really complements to everybody. So I'm happy. And again, I think we've never had a better partnership as we move forward with our disaster folks.
That's great to hear. And it's, it took us some time to get there, but I mean, this is fantastic news. And the other thing is the Cert training. I know that a lot of it's been put on hold because of COVID. Where are we in starting that back up or getting our citizens trained?
Well, I'll turn this over to Chief Drayton, but I will tell you, we continue to do Zoom training. We actually, our CERT folks, and a big compliment to Danielle Bell, we started to lead the nation. We were actually in national CERT training over the last, 2 years, Frank, year and a half during COVID. So we actually took the lead with national initiatives. But Chief, I believe we've done, I don't know how many CERT programs, but a few over the COVID time. And do we have any ETA on back to in person?
So we've done a lot of classes via Zoom, but March 1st is kind of the opening where the neighborhoods are going to start get back together and actually start hands-on exercises.
Great. That's great. And just one last question in reference to the 911. I know we discussed that before as well, but the person physically has to text 911 and not call. I think we brought it up before where it's like you see those horror movies where the person's calling under the bed, they're in the room and they grab the person because they can hear them, right? So this is great to know. I know I watched too many of those things, but this is great to know that you can dial 911 on a text message and it will call dispatch and they'll text you back, correct? It's not where you're calling. You're actually having to get in there and physically text it, correct?
Yes, and it will only reach the communication center where you're calling from.
Great.
So
Okay.
you would need to make sure if you were traveling outside of Contra Costa County, you were on vacation, you would need to make sure that PSAP there receives text messages. Not all agencies in California, some of them still don't receive text messages.
Probably why the reason I don't venture out much, but anyways, okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Councilmember Stepper.
All right. There are a lot of areas that you cover for us, and we are really proud of the fact that we have our own fire district in this area and that we get first-rate service. I'm not saying anything about any other service, just the fact that it's very important to us that we're in an area where we can depend completely on what the times it's going to take for you to get there, the kind of service that you're providing, and your availability to talk to people in the community, not only on Town Talks last year, but just all of the things that have come up and that you've made such a big difference in this year since COVID began. But immediately on the things that you've been talking about right now, and congratulations on the new building. But I think it's not so much important, the insurance rates. It is because of the underlying service you're providing that got us those new insurance rates. So regardless of what someone does there, that's not the key. The key is when you say you usually pick up and on one call, first ring is amazing. And now we see it's not just the first ring, but the first text. And a real adaptation to technology is critical. I wanted to respond to the fact that you are out in the community all the time, just like Chief Shields for our town, in so many different ways, available to answer questions, and that many of the people in your staff come to our meetings, help us with our events, and that when you are at an event, and I know that that's just invaluable when we talk about the emergencies we've seen in the last couple of years. The special situations that you didn't mention that you're also specials in, and that would be autism, the elderly, the ones who need special help in an emergency, regardless of the type of emergency it is, the non-English speaking. These are things that you've accelerated again across the country. And so you just have an amazing staff that they're willing to continually expand what their expertise is. The last thing I just wanted to say is that that was great about your paramedic team coming specialty as well. And I think that's the mental health that we're all seeing. And we know too well how much that's going to affect our schools and the ages in those groups. So thank you very much for directing that, leading it, and bringing Danville into that picture. So thanks again for all the great service.
Absolutely.
Good. First of all, I want to thank you for excellent report, and Denise, Jim, Frank, Chief, thank you for taking the time to update us. I'm really excited about this mental health first program. Would love to hear some updates in the future. I mean, it's really exciting, and I could just see wonderful things happening here in the future. So please keep us informed and updated on that, because that's really an exciting part of what you guys are doing right now. I appreciate, recognizing the importance of ham radios. I mean, I know we've got people in our CERT programs in the hills, down in the flatlands, doing radio checks constantly. And as you all know, during Loma Prieta, that's, poor Sheriff Plummer, that's all he had was ham radio guys communicating. He did just to get information. And tonight, I don't know if you know this, but Board President Ryan Crean, Director Matt Stamey, and Michelle Lee are all listening in on this, and I know they are as proud of the fire district as we are, and may give you a phone call just in case you misstep somewhere along the way here, Chief. You may get a phone call from them, by the way. And then I gotta tell you,
best bosses I've ever had, especially those.
You just went on record with that. Thank you. And I've got to tell you, everybody loves the firefighter, huh? I got to tell you, sitting on the Danville Town Council, we've never been able to say that. How does that feel to say that, Chief, right in front of us?
It is what it is.
It is. But thank you for the update, and and please don't be a stranger. Coming back with us. Let's get updates regularly. You guys are really an important part of our community.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah. Hey, Chief and the fire staff, hey, thanks again for all you do to promote and protect the safety of our community. It's amazing. Not what you do, is how much you do. And, this ISO rating to me, it's just a rating. And it really doesn't really give you full credit for building out an infrastructure that not only makes a difference today, but also for tomorrow as well. So, I want to congratulate you and your team for that rating, because 1% of the U.S., I mean, that is pretty amazing. And it took a lot of hard work by you and your team to accomplish that. So thank you there. The second is the redundancy with your EOC and your communication center. I think at times communities and jurisdictions tend to work in silos. And I think what you're doing is sending a message out there that basically says, hey, we're all one team. We're going to collaborate. We're going to work with each other, and we're going to back each other up. So let's all step up and do what's right, because we know who our customer is. And I think by building out this offering and this redundancy sends more than just, hey, we're a backup to you. It also says, let's continue to work with each other. And I think you kind of highlighted that with PG&E. I mean, they were on the other side of the table, but at the end of the day, they're now collaborating with you, and I really appreciate what you're doing there. And the third is on mental health, and just a couple of questions. Could you share some of the community resources that you've been working with or have been involved in the development of the training program? Because I think what's most important is recognizing that you're not developing and onboarding a program in a silo, that you truly are working with the community. And I think it's important to highlight some of those community resources that you have been relying on to help you build out this program.
Yes, we have been, this has been really a labor of love internally for the district. I know we have had great relationships. I know Kathy Shiverton. We invited her to some of our first meetings when we were laying this out, just to get her feedback from the Discovery Council. And for us, we have reached out to what we consider some of our partners, right? So we have the local EMS agency. We've kept them in the loop as to our thought process. But I'm going to be a little bit arrogant right now. The reality of it is when we came out with firefighters are going in first. Unfortunately, in the police world, the first thing that comes to mind is give me a break. You're going to get, you're going to get hurt for whatever you want to throw any scenario out. When you go to other fire departments that don't run ambulances and aren't, and I'm going to compliment our folks, aren't as enlightened to transferring and transporting patients. A lot of the fire departments don't want to do this. Not my job. And I think we saw early on that that's not the case. So we had those folks locally that have supported us, but with one eyebrow up until you show me what you got before we go full on board. And that's nothing against them, because they definitely have been at the table to listen, to see where they fit in, especially with the MCRT, the Mobile Crisis Response Team. Our big push to them is we're going to compliment you, because you got a 45-minute response. When people call 911 and they're having a mental health crisis, they don't feel like sticking around for 45 minutes, right? So I think we've slowly brought people in. I think that, there's tempered enthusiasm, but somebody had to make the statement, which is this: every call we go on has a crisis component, a mental health component. Any of you that have been there, and I know the mayor's had this happen in his life, when you look at your family members and you're going to the hospital, your family members are in crisis. We happen to just do it really well because this is what we do. So it's really, we had a problem that I think we shrunk because of the natural fit. I think people are getting on board because they see now that we have the type of training and the type of collaboration. But I'd be embellishing if I said that we've had a lot of communication. I think what we've done is kind of been the wedge buster, and slowly we're getting some buy-in to the system, just to be quite honest with you.
No, and I get it. And, you got to start somewhere. And to build that adoption and that I guess that trust, it takes time. And I'll echo what Robert said, which is, on a continued basis, keep us abreast, keep the community abreast of what you're doing, because what's most important is that the journey isn't about you or your team. It's really for the whole community. And, at some point, we're going to have folks jumping on because they feel that they have a contribution that could support this program for the longer term and do what's right for our community. Thank you.
And I will say that now we're kind of, and I'll just make mention of this, when you have Measure X money out there, we're all kind of fighting for that Measure X money. Now that that's kind of, happened, I think everybody's kind of, the edge is off and we're all coming together. So I don't want to downplay it either. I think we have good progress.
Great. Thank you.
Chief, thank you. I just want to say thank you to Chief Paige Meyer, Deputy Chief Frank Dayton, Deputy Chief Jim Sellover, and Denise Paglianian. Thank you for everything that you do. We appreciate it. We've got an hour. We gave you more time than we've ever given anybody, and we appreciate it because of all of the things that are happening in this district. And as Councilmember Renee Morgan said, we're really proud that we have such high level service. But I've been around long enough to know when we didn't have ambulance service, and the reason we had that we have it today was because of a loss of life. And you know what? We have the best ambulance service on the planet, bar none. So thank you. And we look forward to seeing how everything works out. And we'd love to get a tour of your new EOC when it opens. So thank you, guys.
Absolutely. Mayor, members of the council, thank you for having us on behalf of my staff and our fire board. And to council member Storer, 78, you look beautiful. I need to get your secrets. Happy birthday, young man. Thank you, guys.
Great, thanks. I just note board members Matt Stamey and Michelle Lee are both been listening in on this in the audience as well. So thank you, guys.
And Jim Crean.
Okay.
Oh, Ryan Crean.
Well done. All right, we're going to go to item 6.1 now. This is our consent calendar item. And this is item 6.1 through 6.6. These are items that are considered routine and can be acted on in one motion by the council. However, if there's any council member or anybody in the public would like to remove any item for discussion, we can do so. We'll start with the council. Does any council member like to remove any item? No. Seeing none, we'll look to the audience. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to remove any of the items under consent calendar 6.1 through 6.6? If so, please raise your virtual Zoom hand and we will call on you. Marie, I do not see any. Do you?
I do not see any speakers for the consent calendar, nor did I receive any public comment on the consent
Perfect.
calendar items.
Okay,
So
great. Thanks for that.
Mayor, if you don't mind, I'd like to go ahead and move the consent calendar as shown with items 6.1 through 6.6.
Yeah,
Second.
Peter.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Morgan, seconded by Councilmember Karen Stepper. I want to make sure I did close the public hearing or public comments. And if there's no further discussion, we'll call the motion. Marie, would you please call the roll?
Yes. For approval of the consent calendar, Councilmember Fong,
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Stepper,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Storer,
Yes.
and Mayor Arnerich.
Yes.
The consent calendar was approved unanimously.
Great, thank you for that. And now on to item number 7, which is under communications, and we have item number 7.1, which is an update and a report by our representative, Jim Donnelly, who is also on our Senior Advisory Commission, for the Contra Costa County Advisory Council on Aging. Jim Donnelly, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for the opportunity to come and give an annual report on what the Advisory Council on Aging has been doing. It's like everybody else, it's been a challenge with COVID. All the meetings have been via Zoom or et cetera, but we did manage to meet 10 times last year as the whole council, and also between all our work groups and committees, a total of 78 additional meetings. I've submitted a written report to Marie to hopefully include in the record. I'd just like to highlight some of it. Right now, we have 36 active members on the council. That means all of our large seats are filled. We've actually got 2 alternates to fill in to help make quorums when we need it. And we only have 4 city vacancies, which is pretty low for us. So that's doing really good. Kind of the high points, I was elected president last year of the ACOA and just recently reelected president for this year, and then I'll have to step down from the presidency. But we did a lot of things, even though we were limited by the pandemic. In June, we held, in collaboration with the SCAN Foundation, a virtual conference titled Master Plan for Aging, Craft It Your Way, Contra Costa. And I know some of you council members attended that. That was attended by over 175 persons representing government, service providers, advocates, and the public. Out of that, 2 things happened. We developed a list of 15 priorities the stakeholders wanted the Contra Costa to consider in moving forward with the implementation of the Master Plan for Aging. And the second thing came out of that was the decision to form a Contra Costa Impact Steering Committee. And this committee is made up by the heads of a lot of the Department of Housing, the Department of Health, the Area Agency on Aging, myself representing the ACOA, and other stakeholders within the community to try to overall guide the efforts we're doing to implement the master plan. So we hope to see a lot of that coming out of it soon. Boom. Some of the activities, our planning committee, in conjunction with the Area Agency on Aging, conducted a review of all 15 contractors for the AAA in providing services, and also put input to the area plan's annual update. And we're in the process in our March meeting of having a public hearing to approve the annual update to the area plan. Housing Work Group is finalizing a white paper on the housing needs within the county, and also had a very good presentation by Danville of Danville's ADU program. So they were wondering why more people, more cities in the county haven't jumped on and done this, which is, I think, a good thought. Health Work Group was it the last year completing a white paper on tips for selecting a skilled nursing facility. And we just finalized that at our last meeting. Transportation Work Group was very active in advocating for Measure X funding. And they got a significant amount of Measure X funding for implementation of the Accessible Transportation Strategic Plan, which is now moving forward. And I thought a lot of work and a lot of presentations made before the advisory committees. So the Elder Abuse Prevention Work Group collaborated with Adult Protective Services to update what was initially a financial elder abuse prevention presentation to include all forms of elder abuse awareness and prevention, and are now working with APS to set up presentations around the county to inform everybody on elder abuse. So that's kind of the highlights of what we've been doing this last year. I've found it very rewarding and exciting, and open it up to any questions.
And that's great. Thank you. And again, most importantly, thank you for your service and congratulations on being chair. And it's the best news we've heard that you only have 4 vacancies.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, it's really we'll start. Karen, did you have a question first or a comment?
Oh, yeah, I have a question and a compliment, of course, because I got to sit in on the last meeting for the Senior Aging Advisory Committee, and it's just so diverse, and they bring just so many things to the table, and so we're very proud of that committee. I wanted to ask you, Jim, since you have so much contact on our behalf with respect to transportation, this is a big part of this aging map. Do you make a few extra comments on the transportation? And it's great to have a program, but if people don't feel they can get to the program or can't participate in it, the steps that you think were most important going forward for us to move forward from Danville.
Transportation is such, well, everything in seniors seems to be such a problem, but how do you solve transportation for seniors who can no longer drive in this community? And it's a countywide problem. We have a bunch of different city-run programs, including our County Connection Paratransit, to try to fill the gap, but they only get a small portion of the needs. We have currently 15 different community-run volunteer organizations within the county providing transportation services. And I know, not to steal Leah's thunder, I know Leah is working on seeing how we can get some sort of a local transportation system going in Danville. So, but having a bus come through town once an hour is not a transportation system.
Yes, and even getting on the transportation is a difficult situation when you're in a walker or all these other things. And so I applaud you for the fact that so many things are done through online other alternatives. So thank you. Great job you're doing, Jim.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. We'll go Vice Mayor Storr and then Councilmember Morgan.
Good, Mayor. Thank you. And Jim, once again, thank you for all that you do in the community. I mean, Senior Commission, Meals on Wheels, this advisory commission with the county. All that you do in this community is amazing. And working with the seniors and doing the cooking and the truck classes. I mean, be careful. You're getting close to almost becoming a town treasure here. You're not quite there, but you're getting really, really close. And I want you to know, when Jim was on County Connection, he made a point to emphasize to the board and County Connection general manager and assistant general manager that the advisory committee needed to be a much stronger advisory committee. And because of Jim, of the 11 members now, we have 9 members. That's because of Jim's outreach and working with County Connection. So once again, thank you for all that, Jim, and you're amazing. Nicely done, buddy.
So tell me, Rob, are you now a senior?
You're just an older adult. I'll tell you when we're all seniors, and we're not there yet.
This is a public meeting, no personal. Councilmember Morgan and then Dave.
Oh, boy, I'm glad I got to handle that one and take over right here. So, in reference to local transportation, I know that you kind of kind of touched on that, but what else do you think we could be doing in Danville to better provide for our seniors? And is there anything that you can think of that we should be doing?
You want me to start counting?
Well, you could maybe give me the top three. How's that?
The first thing is listen intently to Leah's presentation and approve our roadmap for a more age-friendly city.
Just be careful. That's a different item. Don't speak out of turn yet, please. Yes, obviously, your ideas are in that plan. We're going to see it. We'll consider it. Thank you.
So, but
What about meal delivery? Let's touch on that. Meal delivery to our seniors. I know that the meal deliveries were canceled. People had to do a drive-by picking up meals. Where are we at in that? And do you see like the classes that we were talking about that you teach? Where are we at with that and giving that back to our seniors?
I'll tell you what, the next session for the classes at the senior center starts in March. And they're going to be in person.
Great.
And I know Leah will be able to say more on that. We've seen a big growth in people that want to come back and do that. At the same time, we want to, and Leah wants to get back with the CC Cafe or the Cafe Costa, the congregate meals. But in the interim, there's still every week meal pickups at the senior center. And I think the latest numbers were 15 to 20 people a week. So that's helping. But, as you know, besides that, Meals on Wheels is still delivering to homes throughout Danville. So, it's a great program. And hopefully we'll be able to get a lot more people meeting back in person soon. Because the thing we're seeing and all the things the input I'm getting is, the pandemic has been horrible for seniors because of the isolation. They've seen a 20-some% increase in falls of seniors because of isolation and the loneliness. So the moment, more we can get back and get those programs in person, better off we're going to be.
So just to end on this note, the last thing I want to say is, from my seat, I just want to thank you for your advocacy, your dedication, and beyond passion to make sure that these services that not only meet our local seniors, but in general, that these needs are being heard. And if they don't have the voice to do so, you've been their voice. And so, Jim, thank you so much for all you do and all the things that you do for seniors, including giving them rides, places, and doing things like that. You go above and beyond. So I just wanted to personally thank you.
Thank you, Renee.
Thanks, Jim. And Councilmember Fong?
Yeah. Hey, Jim, again, thank you for all you do. The other council members have pretty much said it, so I'm just echoing their view. And this whole, discussion about transportation, I know you and I talk about it, and I think every Saturday when we're together at the farmer's market, we have that conversation about, are there best practices that we could adopt from other jurisdictions or communities? What's the heavy lift that's required? And at some point, we all need to step up and recognize that it's more than just talk. We need to come up with a plan to address transportation and live with that plan and live through it. My question to you is your insight, being on the County Aging Advisory Committee. Are there some low-hanging fruits that Danville can adopt or subscribe to that might help improve the support or enhance the support that we currently provide to our seniors?
Oh, That's a tough question. Low hanging fruit. I would say, there's a lot of as you well know, a lot of money being made available through the build back, the funds for COVID, et cetera, reliefs. The county's got a lot of money, and there's a lot of grants being looked at. And even from a city level, I would say keep on top of looking at grants that we can use to expand services in our city. That could be going so far as perhaps picking up picking up a van from County Connection that they no longer use and establishing our own van system. But that, again, you can get the vans cheap, but then you want some grants to get that initial funding to how are you going to fund it long term? Because when you look at it, everything's got a cost. And it's how we're going to fund it in the long term that we've got to come up with better ways.
Okay. Thanks for your perspective. Again, with your experience and your insight, if there's something that we can do for our seniors today that doesn't cost much, but gains a lot of value, that, then obviously.
Put some tables and chairs and umbrellas outside the senior center so they have a place to at least get together.
There you go.
Doesn't cost much, and you can do it pretty quick.
Okay.
That's fun. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Great, Jim, thank you so much, and stick around. We're coming up on a really interesting item.
I'm going to listen to Leah. Believe me, it's a pleasure to work with her.
Well, that's very nice.
With the senior center and all the things we're trying to do going forward. So thank you for listening.
Fantastic. Okay, this will take us to our next item, which is item number 8 under administrative staff reports. And item 8.1 is really exciting. This is amazing how quickly this actually got here, given the youthful age of our existence of our senior advisory committee. And this is to consider adoption of resolution number 11-2022, adopting the Danville Age-Friendly Roadmap. And Leah is going to lead us off. And just a note also, I see we have our chair, Candace Hendra, chair of our Senior Advisory Commission, and also Sandra Moody has been watching him. So welcome to everybody.
Thank you so much, Mayor Arnrich. I'm going to go ahead and begin by sharing my screen. All right. Are you able to see the presentation?
Yes, it'd be great if you could go to the, click the, there you go.
There we are. All right.
Perfect. Now you got it.
Thank you so much. So I am delighted to be here today to present on the age-friendly roadmap. I will be presenting a brief history and background of the process and the efforts that went in by the Senior Advisory Commission to make this possible. So let's start with talking a little bit about the Senior Advisory Commission. As you are aware, it was established in 2019 with the purpose of supporting older adult residents and their process of aging in place through the assessment of services, amenities, and ensuring that recreational opportunities and services are available to Danville residents and visitors of all age groups and abilities. So they were posed with the question, what is age friendly? And certainly there are international best practices that we can refer to, but the Senior Commission acknowledged the importance of having an age-friendly plan that was tailored to Danville's community specifically. So they enlisted the help of consultants, MIG, at their October 28th, 2020 meeting. And the plan was devised for an age-friendly roadmap, which was made up of 3 different goals. So they wanted to make sure that the Commission's vision was preserved through the roadmap.
Leah, I'm not sure, but I think you're frozen for a second there. Maybe it looks like we have, is everybody else hearing this the same way that she's frozen?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
so maybe what we can do, Leah, if you can hear us, it might be your bandwidth for both the presentation and all of that is not going to work. Does anybody else happen to have a copy of this? That if somebody can send it to me, I have a fiber connection I'm on. I could at least run the show so she doesn't have to.
And Mayor Arnich, I also have it if that's if
Okay.
that helps as well. So I can
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and see if you can get it up, and then if hopefully Leah can relog back in, and we can try to do this. This is really exciting stuff. And Marie, can you let us know as soon as you see Leah, and maybe we can send her a note to make sure she is logging back in.
Is that visible to you, sir?
Yes.
Yes.
I do not see Leah coming back yet. Oh, there she is. She's back.
All right,
Leah?
my apologies. We're having some internet difficulties over here.
No problem. Leah, why don't we do this? We're going to have Henry be your assistant. Isn't that nice?
Oh, I would
He's
love
going to
that.
run, while you talk, he's going to run your slideshow.
All right.
Let's try that, see if that works. Go
So
ahead.
should I resume at the beginning? Am I assuming?
No, we can
No.
hear you. You can go
Oh.
forward as wherever you want, right there.
There.
There you go. That's where you were.
Okay, perfect. So, all right. Yes, so the goal of the age-friendly roadmap was to tie all three of these components in. So easy to use, reflective of the commission's goals and vision, as well as indicative of what the community wants moving forward. So Henry, if you want to go ahead and perfect. So this is just a timeline to demonstrate how the process began. So just a year ago, we were setting the age-friendly Danville baseline, looking at services and programs that were already in place through the town, through the county, identifying community assets. The next phase, which I will go a little bit more in depth with, was the community outreach. So we'll talk about how that happened. And then the final draft of the plan, which is before you today. Next, thank you. So at the October 28th, 2020 commission workshop, there was an opportunity for the commission to share their vision for seniors in the long term, identify town assets, and create a senior action plan. So a few of the initial goals of the original Senior Advisory Commission included engagement, assessment, education, a hub for resources, and a senior ambassador program. So those are all components that you will see reappear in the age-friendly roadmap itself. Go ahead, Hen. Thank you so much. So the other important component, which was a shared outreach model, was the community input component. And this happened in three ways. There was an online survey through Open Town Hall. So there was an online survey that over 180 people actually logged in and completed. There were 6 intercept events at local cafes and grocery stores to kind of catch people as they're going about their lives and have them answer questions like, what kinds of services are you aware of that the town currently provides? Does anyone in your household currently use those services? And what would you need to successfully age in place? So those results are in Appendix B. But also there were paper surveys that were distributed by the Senior Advisory Commissioners themselves to other community members to answer. Go ahead, Henry. So I just wanted to share this quick photo here about the shared model of outreach, and what you see pictured here is what we affectionately call a future senior. So we're all future seniors, and so it's important to remember that age-friendly means that the town is accessible and enjoyable for people of all ages, but especially forecasting and looking towards the future and making sure that we're able to stay up with the needs and the trends of the community. Thank you. So here are some sample, there's the flyer for the online survey, as well as some small boards that we printed very largely for interaction during the intercept events. They also asked demographic questions of the people answering the survey, like, do you live in Danville? Do you work in Danville? Do you just come to visit? As well as age, and if they're fully employed, working part-time, that type of thing. And so again, these are all summarized in Appendix D of your plan. And here it is. So it's a dynamic, colorful guide, easy to kind of organize and read through. But the really exciting part is what's on the inside. Henry, thank you. So here is the framework of the overall roadmap. It begins with the town vision and mission at the top, the goals of the development of the roadmap itself, and then the 5 domains of livability, which are listed below. So Henry, if you could go to the next slide, they're easier to read. Thank you. So the domains of livability were transportation, housing, outdoor and indoor facilities, activities and programs, and social connections and community support. So housing was one domain of livability that came directly from the commission's workshop, but all the others were directly tied to community input and feedback. Housed within each domain of livability are a list of strategies, and we can see the strategies that are already underway. So community assets that might just need promoting or referrals. Henry, next slide. And also new strategies. So these are, again, intended to be living, breathing document, but definitely some creative approaches to addressing the needs of the aging population in Danville as we move forward. And definitely things that happen beyond the walls of just the Danville Senior Center. So next steps. So this slide I love because it's full of possibility here. But with the town council's adoption, the plan moving forward would be to have a prioritization workshop to create an annual work plan, very similar to how the other commissions function. And we anticipate that this plan and its efforts will likely span and encompass multiple commissions, the council, and staff groups to accomplish them. And I wanted to just include some brief considerations for implementation moving forward, things that are important to keep in mind through the prioritization process, which of course include commissioner feedback, capital improvement projects, staff time, the time frame in which we hope to accomplish these goals, and the operational impact. And thank you for bearing with that technical difficulty, but there's my contact information if there's something that you'd like more information on, and I am happy to answer any questions at this time.
Leah, that's great. I would say I'm impressed that you have such a concise presentation on something that's so exciting and so important. So let's go to Vice Mayor Robert Storer first, and then we'll go to Karen Stepper.
I just have a couple of questions, and I may save a couple of questions for the end when I hear everyone else asking the questions. But Leah, anything that surprised you from this survey that after you got the information, you thought, oh, geez, I didn't know that?
I can't say that I was surprised. I think with the front desk at the senior center, we hear a lot of calls for information and referral, and I would say this is very consistent and on brand with the requests that we hear.
Yeah, and what's interesting is I happen to be on page 90 and 91 of the report, and it starts off with most pressing needs, and then it goes down to services and program. And what's interesting is, number one on the list is staying connected to family and friends. And were there solutions that people offered to say, hey, this is how we can do it, and this is how the town can help? Because God, with Zoom and Facebook or FaceTime, there's so many ways to communicate.
Certainly, I think there's definitely some context to the timing in which these intercept events and surveys took place. I think isolation was at the forefront of everyone's concerns. And in general, working with senior programming, sometimes we do get requests for classes on how to make friends or how to have meaningful social connections. But what I will say is it's a beautiful byproduct of literally everything that we do. So we're constantly making connections and creating community through our facility, through our programs. And so while that is a pressing need, I do think there is some COVID component there, as well as that is something that we pride ourselves on doing every day through the work that we do.
Yeah, and actually, wonderful report. I have, I could ask a lot of questions, but on 91, page 91, it's interesting that which of the following services programs do you or an adult senior household use? And I was surprised how low the senior trips was. Now, that because it was during COVID, and I mean, there wasn't really a senior trips program, because that usually is a really well-attended program.
Definitely, our trip program is typically very robust, so I'm not sure if that speaks to the time, but doesn't speak to the popularity of the trips themselves.
They're sold out usually.
Yes, typically.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. So, it's funny because, well, it's not funny, but it's interesting that when we look at what seniors need, I mean, it's clearly as we get older, I mean, the ones that are active come out, and those aren't the ones we're worried about. We're worried about the ones that are in their house that cannot come out or won't come out, and they're afraid to come out. Just for the idea, some people won't even come out because they're afraid to trip on the sidewalk. Those are the ones we have to reach out to, and those are the ones we have to help.
Certainly.
Great. Other questions? Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Stepper, questions?
Okay. This is what I got out of the other night when I was sitting here watching this come together. And this is just fantastic, the amount of information that's in this package, because there's a lot of good ideas out there. And one of them seemed to be to tie together the senior areas. And Jim just alluded to that a little bit, but it's about the senior center, but the community center with the library assets, the new Danville Green that's coming in terms of the facilities, and the Village Theater, and kind of look at that together. And how do we indicate a way to get between those buildings? So if you're a senior and you want to come down for the day for 3 hours or whatever else, and you want to start at one area where there's a movie and you want to go to something else where you're learning about Medicare or travel, for example, and getting between those buildings. So I'm looking to see what kind of project we might have thought or will think down the line that will tie that together, so that we don't have to say, well, we gave you bike share and you're only 85. How old are you today, Robert? But anyway, so we can't all use the same kind of share facilities. And so how can we do that with that small area? And so you don't have to answer right now today, but I'm hoping that what I got from that the other day, that might be kind of a project of how you do get, whether it's pushing people to another area if they're in a wheelchair, or giving them an easier way to get up and down the sidewalk curbs. So thank you.
Councilmember Stepper, if I may just address that. I mean, one of the best things that's happening to us right now is the downtown master plan, and how that's connecting with all the different plans that we have currently in place. Those consultants, that work group also will have the age friendliness, because as Leah alluded to, it's not just to the senior center, it is to the whole town and all the things we do. So it's really kind of a shift in awareness. So we really want people to be aware of it. So when the Planning Commission goes and does their thing, that they're aware. When the Parks Commission goes and does their thing, they're aware that these are questions we want to be asking.
Great,
Great job, Henry. Thank you. And thank you, Leah.
Councilmember Fong, you have a question?
Do I have a question?
This is questions only. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm going to hold my comments.
Okay.
Thank
All right.
you.
Good. Any other questions at this time? Okay. Seeing none, let's go to the public hearing. At this time, anybody who'd like to speak on this item, please raise your virtual hand and we will call on you. Is there anybody there? Candace, Mark, Michelle, Sandra, anybody want to speak on this item? You guys already done your work? Okay. Yes. Marie, do you see any others?
There are no public speakers on this item.
And any written comment on this item?
No written public comment submitted to the town. No.
Okay, great. Then we will close the public hearing on this item, bring it back to council. Let's go to Councilmember Fong first. Comments or whatever you want now.
Oh, yeah. Well, now I have a question. No.
Go ahead.
Just a comment, and to Henry and to Leah, I was there on day one, and I think if we consider the representation of the commission, it was, and what we wanted to accomplish, we want it all done yesterday. I want to compliment both of you for managing our expectations, managing the process, and most importantly, delivering what you have been able to deliver today, because it's just amazing, that journey that has led us to this point. And I know that there's probably a few commissioners that are on the Senior Advisory Commission that are still wondering, how fast can we move? And respectfully, you've said it earlier, Leah, which is, got to prioritize, and we need to make sure that we fully understand, what we need to get accomplished, because it obviously requires resources and money to accomplish that as well. But we also recognize that nothing is done sequentially. that, as Henry said earlier, having this plan out there is now on the radar for everything we do. And so it will be considered and incorporated and becomes part of I call it the practice for what we need to do to eventually become truly age friendly. But compliments to both of you and to the rest of the staff that worked on this, because it's been a long journey, but it's been a great result here, and we're all looking forward to next steps.
Great, thanks, Councilmember Fong. Any other comments, questions? I would just add I'm sorry, Councilmember Morgan.
I wanted to thank all of you for bringing this to us. It's been a long time coming, and the age wave, as you're calling it, the largest generation in America's history, fondly known as the baby boomers, me included. We are the ones that are aging in place and need to have these activities. And I want to thank our town for being in the forefront of getting this done. It is so important that we all maintain a level of engagement, especially during these times, as well as a level of fitness to maintain our brain health and everything else as we age. So thank you all for bringing this to fruition and making sure that this happens. And this includes the commission, starting with Dave Fong in the beginning into now, and also staff. I just wanted to thank all of you for doing this. This is not long overdue, but it is something that I'm so happy that we are the pioneers getting this done. Thank you, guys.
Well said. Council member or Vice Mayor Storr.
Yeah, no, and Renee, absolutely 100%. It's amazing how quickly this came to fruition. It's amazing the output, the input, and the collecting all the information and getting us here today. It's absolutely incredible. And I'm looking forward to seeing how we're going to implement this and how we're going to make senior lives better. And that's really what it comes down to. So this is wonderful. And Henry, Leah, thank you for all your good work. And then naturally, it goes without saying, but our senior commission, Candace Hendra as a chair, Stephen Freshman as a vice chair, Jim Donnelly, Roxanne Foster, Sandra Moody. Thank you for guiding this process. And Dave, thanks for being there at the very beginning of this. And I think it'd be appropriate if you made the motion on this as well, considering you were the ones that actually started this, so you can start looking for the information to make that motion.
Yeah. And before that motion, I just want to add a comment. You always get to go last as the mayor. I'm sorry, Karen Stepper.
Yeah, just a brief comment. This isn't age friendly, and it is all ages, and it's not just the seniors, but it's concentrated there, as they said it in the report. And so I just wanted to know, because as we go to all the great things you've been talking about tonight, including the downtown plan, there's places for age friendly to include little kids as well. so that everybody feels welcome in our community, and so that we can make a huge dent in the multi-generational kinds of projects that can make it easier for our seniors to operate. So thank you.
Perfect. I would just add that I too echo all of those sentiments about the quality of this, how fast it really was done.
Mm-hmm.
And, it is important that it took its time and its course. It's important, and as you know, when we do things, they live a long time in terms of the impacts that it has on our community. What I'm so proud of is that when we use the word roadmap, I think that's better than we've used for other things. It's now part of all of our decision making, not only as we do budgeting every year, we do capital improvements, we do recreation programs, we think about our planning projects, all of those things integrated together, just like we've added bicycles and pedestrians and all of those things to make this a better community. This is just part of that fabric that helps complete. The one request I would have is, given that a lot of our intercepts and surveys were done during some of our tough times in COVID, I think it'd be worthwhile that about a year, kind of year after we're out of this, so somewhere next March in 2023, that we might just do, and we've gotten really good at this, of doing some online surveys, just to touch base back with people, to validate a few of these things and see how people feel, so that we don't march off too strongly on some of the action items based on input, because I do believe, and as somebody pointed out earlier, it may change a little bit. So with that, Mr. Fong, would you like to make a motion?
Yeah, and before I do that, I got to have one other comment, and it's a statistic. 50% of our population is over 45 years of age, and over 20% of our population is over 65 years of age. So I think that the comment about that we age every day is so true here in Danville, and I'm so proud that we're so proactive and we're positioned to really support our age-friendly population out there. So I'd like to move to adopt resolution number 11-2022, the Danville Age-Friendly Roadmap.
Second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Marie Sinceri, our city clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Councilmember Fong,
Absolutely, yes.
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Stepper,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Storer,
Yes.
and Mayor Arnerich.
Yes.
The resolution was approved unanimously.
Fantastic. Well done, everybody. Thank you, Leah, for your presentation. Thank you for coming back. I would be nervous if I were doing that. You did that perfectly. And Henry, thanks for helping out. All right, this takes us to our last item on the agenda. And this is under council reports. Are there any additional items council members would report on? Seeing none, I do, by the way, just see somebody in our, and it's a Chris Nuts. Unfortunately, our public hearings were closed, so I apologize. We will not be able to get to you. With that, any last business? Joe, anything from your side? Okay, seeing none. Good evening to all, and thank you again for sticking to this. It's not bad. We got done in less than 2 hours. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Take care.